What's up guys, JP back at you once again, bringing you guys day number 9 in my 4th annual 31 Days of Horror. This is a series in which we watch and review 31 horror films in 31 days, all during the month of October, leading right up to Halloween. This year we are focusing on the entire classic Universal Monsters box set, and continuing along with that box set in chronological order, we have ventured into the 40s. We have 1940's The Invisible Man Returns. This is the first sequel to the Invisible Man franchise. We are introduced to our lead character played by Vincent Price, who is named Jeffrey Radcliffe. Now Jeffrey is currently in prison because he was arrested and wrongly accused of the murder of his brother. They own a coal mining business. He is going to be sentenced to death if he doesn't find a way out. Luckily for him, he is good friends with the next character we are introduced to, and that is Frank Griffin. Now Frank Griffin is the brother of the original Invisible Man from the first film, Mr. Jack Griffin. Jack Griffin was the original creator of the invisibility potion, and now we have Frank, who is continuing on the work secretly over the years of his brother, and he then visits Mr. Jeffrey in prison, gives him some invisibility potion. Jeffrey escapes from prison, and of course the police think that it's Frank because Frank is Jack's brother, and they remember the case of the Invisible Man, so they start targeting Frank for helping his friend escape. Meanwhile, you have Jeffrey on the run, and he meets up with his girlfriend, and of course he is invisible, and he is slowly becoming mad because, as we know, the invisibility makes you mad. On top of all that, you have the real murderer of Jeffrey's brother still on the loose. So I gotta be honest, the first time that I watched this, I was a little confused. I actually got near the end and I was like, wait a minute, I gotta restart this thing. So I watched this film nearly 2 times. And I really did feel like the plot was a little convoluted and it didn't really properly explain things to you right away. You have all these different characters with all these different names, and you're not really sure which ones are connected to the original Invisible Man. After watching it a second time and reading a synopsis, I was much more able to follow the film. I felt like I understood what was going on, and I was like, wow, this is kind of a deep interwoven plot. So I like that about it. Vincent Price as the Invisible Man is really good. He's not as good as Claude Rains in my opinion, but I do still think he did a decent job as the Invisible Man. We don't really see Vincent Price that much in the film because he is invisible, but you hear his voice, and that is very effective. Some of the Invisible Man gags are not as good as the first film, but let's not compare this film to the first film that much. It's still a pretty decent sequel. There is a lot of comedy in it. The police are used for comedic effect, and I'm not really crazy about it, but at the same time, some jokes are funny. When I was finally able to understand what was going on, I did like the betrayal and the different dynamics with the characters going on. There was different plot points with each character, such as the scientist who was trying to continue his brother's work, but at the same time was only doing it out of love for his friend, and he's trying to find a solution for the madness or the invisibility. And the end effect where we see the Invisible Man, I thought was really, really good. I liked the way that that played out, and I overall liked the ending and just loved the effect that they used for it. Pretty solid sequel, to be honest. As a sequel, it's not as good as the first one, but it is, you know, a decent follow-up. I give The Invisible Man Returns a 7 out of 10.